Yeah, they're nice.
I got them for a good deal too. Which is
Yeah, you did.
So we should probably start from the beginning.
In the beginning was the word,
yes,
and the word.
Yes.
Oh no, not that beginning.
Not that beginning.
The beginning of the podcast.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm trying to think of stuff in a way that it's not boring for us to listen to it again, because it's going to be repetitive.
But nobody else has heard it again, so it doesn't matter.
It's true.
It never happened.
What was it like when you were little?
It's a weird segue. What are you talking about? Like,
so growing up. So
yes.
Let's divide it into 3 stages.
Okay.
So growing up, so like till you got to high school, from high school till you dropped out of college, and then from dropping out of college till now, you're gonna divide it into those 3. I think that sounds the best.
Sure, I guess.
Let's do it that way.
Okay. So
You're from Houston.
From Houston, kind of like you, oldest of a homeschool family, bunch of kids. Cradle Catholic. Again, like you. Yeah, and it was funny because as a kid, I wasn't terribly... Well, I was entrepreneurial as much as I knew how. Like, I was always mowing neighbors' yards and doing all kinds of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Digging bricks out of... This one neighbor, she had all these bricks that were buried in her yard that the contractors put there like 30 years prior. And she would pay me to dig bricks out of this field. Weird. But I was like...
Kind of cool.
Oh, but you give me money. Let's do it.
Wait, did you get to keep the bricks?
I don't want to keep the bricks. I kept the money.
Oh.
That was the point.
Oh,
I don't care about bricks. I don't care about bricks.
Yeah, you don't care about bricks.
Like, oh, you're going to pay me like, whatever, 25 cents per brick? All right, cool. I'm going to dig out 100 bricks right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in like, whatever, 1997, that was actual money.
$25.
But yeah, back then that you could actually do something with that.
$25 is like, you could still do something with it today. Like, you could give yourself a meal.
Maybe.
If you went somewhere not expensive.
2 people at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
But if it's one with an iPad that they spin around.
And then you have to add the tip.
And you're like, 20% minimum
This
tip?
is off topic.
This is
off topic.
The point being, we always get back. Don't say it's off topic. They don't know that. It's fine. So, yeah, I was entrepreneurial in the sense of always like making money, but I didn't really understand how a business worked.
Mm. Did you read
do tasks, get money? That's not having a business, right?
No.
Do tasks, get money.
Yeah.
So, so that's why I think it's really cool when you said to me, "Hey, you should make, could actually have the original right here,
the OG,
the one, this is it.
That is the one.
This is the first one of the Lord of the Rings.
Rings of
the
the Lord. This is the Rings of the Lord podcast.
Rings of the Lord.
Not the Lord of the Rings podcast.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of a play on that. So
just a little bit.
And it was funny because you told me, you're like, "Oh, dude, you could totally have a business selling these." You were like 12 and like a foot shorter. You could totally have a business selling these.
I don't know about a foot shorter. That seems like a little bit of a stretch.
You were a short 12-year-old.
Was I 4'6"? Because I'm about 5'6". No, I'm about 5'7".
We're gonna call it a foot for conversation's sake.
Okay, more like 10 inches probably.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, it does not matter. Okay, so anyways, you're like, "Oh, you could totally have a business selling these," and I'm like, "Dude, I run a real business. I don't have time." And you said, "Well, then I'll do it."
Duh.
I'm like,
problem solved.
Okay, so first of all, you need a website.
I make websites.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I make websites."
French toast.
Yeah. So you go get your laptop and you come back.
I deleted that website now though. The French toast website.
Oh, well, that's fair. Why pay all the
it wasn't
costs?
even a good website. It was just a starter.
It doesn't matter. And you showed it to me. You're like, "Oh, look, and this shows you all about French toast and why you should eat it and everything else." And I'm like,
exactly.
Okay, you got that covered.
I haven't cooked French toast in a long time.
But you made the website, that's all that matters.
Yeah, the website's what matters.
So I just thought it was really cool, like, looking back, growing up in the 90s, like, the internet was this... It existed, but selling things on it wasn't really a thing.
What about Jeff Bezos? He was around there.
Yeah. That was in the infancy, though. You had to know how to actually code. You couldn't just...
Yeah, I read about that last night, actually.
Oh, yeah, dude. If you didn't have, like, tape on your glasses, like, you wouldn't...
Yeah.
Like, just selling things on the internet was not going to happen.
But now with all this...
Oh, now it's like you just go to Squarespace and...
Yeah.
You know, in an hour you have a website.
Shopify, too, which is the big one.
Yeah, sure. So I just thought it was really cool. I'm like, hey, if I can help this kid here who's smart actually learn how to not just have a job like I did, like dig brick, get money, but to actually like build a business and to learn all the principles of it.
I feel like having a job though is important. Like,
well, sure,
like learning how to be responsible and learning how to follow like directions and stuff.
Because you don't have that running a business.
Well, with running a business, like compared to the job that I used to have, at Shine, the restaurant.
Oh, you quit?
I quit.
Oh, I didn't know you quit.
I did.
It was costing you too much money, right? You have to go back and work on your business.
We'll say it like that.
Yeah.
We can phrase it like that.
Yeah.
But having a job, I think it teaches you how to like. You can't just like if. The comparison of owning the business, Rings of the Lord, compared to the job is much different. I much more prefer. I would rather
tell the people how so.
I would rather be sitting in the back making rosaries for like 4 hours, and feeling like I'm actually like getting out there and doing. I mean, I make a lot more money doing that, but
versus working for other people.
Yes, but also it's more interesting. It's like having a job. It's good because it teaches you how to get stuff done, and it teaches you how like what steps you need to take. And how you need to be hard
like
worker.
doing tasks.
Yes. But owning a business is really important too because it teaches you like, well, what steps do you have to?
Where am I going with this?
And we'll touch on more on this after the break. But
just keep going. Who cares?
So you had a job doing bricks. Didn't you also do something with the garden?
Oh yeah. Like watering plants and walking dogs and mowing yards and digging bricks out of the ground and just whatever like neighbors would pay me money to do. I was like, yeah, I'll do that, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll pay me this? Okay, cool, yeah, whatever.
So you were doing jobs around your neighborhood, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
And then would you do that like every afternoon or what was the deal with that?
No, it was kind of on the basis of when these people needed this stuff done.
Okay.
So it just depended on
like a year-round thing.
It was whenever they needed it done because I liked making money kind of thing.
Okay. Were you saving up for, I mean, a little bit of a weird question, but were you saving up for anything or you just like liked to make money?
So when I was...
Like, what was your motivation?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I liked making money because it was options.
So you could do stuff with it.
Right. And I guess at, 6 years old, I didn't really have the ability...
You were 6?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. I was making money at like 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. I'm not messing around. Like, I couldn't articulate it at the time, but it was options. So I had this brown leather wallet, and of course back then it was all cash, right? Just green paper.
Yeah, no cards.
Back in the day, and it was like I remember the first time I had $100, dude. I thought I was like Bill Gates. I was like, I have $100.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right? Yeah. Well, this is back when $100 meant something.
Yeah.
That would be like $300, $400 now, depending on how you calculate it. Like seriously.
It would probably like a little kid would value it that much.
No. $100 in
the inflation's
whatever 1995.
It's gone up 300%.
For a lot of things, yeah. Now it depends upon what inflation index you're looking at. The consumer price.
The point
index,
is,
blah 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 blah.
For you, it was a lot of money.
But $100 back then bought the same that about 300 would now.
Yeah, now it's only like 5 trips to the coffee shop.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
especially if it's the one that has an iPad, then it's like 4.
Darn it!
What are you gonna do? But I didn't know how to articulate that this $100 in my hand is options, but fundamentally that's what it is.
So would you just like spend your money, or would you save?
So I would save it for buying Legos and collectible coins.
Cool.
Yeah.
Coins are cool.
I got into coin collecting.
I think silver is cool.
Silver and gold, yeah.
So when was did you ever have like a first real job? Or was it kind of just like...
Yeah, let's see.
That, here and there?
What was that? That was... Oh, working for my dad's construction company.
Okay.
And that, oh boy, that was interesting. We had to do. So his company was doing renovations of some, shall we say, less than nice apartment complexes in a substandard part of town.
Okay. I see
You
what
get
you're
what I
saying.
mean? It was rough. Yeah, we would be out of there by about 3:00 every day.
In the morning?
No. We'd be out by like 3 in the afternoon.
Oh,
if you stayed beyond 3 in the afternoon, it really, you kind of didn't want to like
Deal with everything.
It's like, oh, there's a shooting over there because the drug deal's going down. Oh, yeah, okay, it's just easier to not deal with that. You just leave before it all happens, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cleaning out those apartment units. It was gross.
Okay.
Was
So
gross.
what about your education? What was your education like?
Um,
Because you were homeschooled, I know that.
yes.
But what was it like before high school?
Basically, well, you're the oldest of a homeschool family. You know
Yes.
how this works. As it so often does, the oldest kid is like kind of told, all right, go there, do your work as you know how to do. And the little kids get the attention because they need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I just basically learned how to teach myself, really. I learned how to learn.
So like
Which is really cool.
you were given like a textbook and you were learned how to learn that lesson.
So I had my stack of textbooks,
Mhm.
and I had the prescribed, it might have been like a lesson a day or whatever it took to get the book done in a semester or whatever, right? So I had my prescribed amount, and basically was told, all right, well, you got to do X amount in each book every day. Go get it done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you got to do.
Would you do like more each day to get ahead?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so you were done like with school by like February.
Well,
No, I'm just
not
kidding. I'm just
necessarily.
kidding.
It would depend on the book. Like, some days, you just don't feel like doing math at all.
So you just didn't do math.
And it was before I got into coffee, right? Because I'm like, whatever, 7, 8.
Yeah, that's a little young for coffee.
Oh, my nieces, dude, they're 2 and 4, and they drink espresso. Decaf espresso.
Oh,
My little
okay.
2-year-old niece, she drinks her favorite. She's like straight espresso with a little bit of cream. It's hilarious. It's the best
I
thing.
don't-
But I didn't
well,
have that
okay.
when I was 6, right?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it wasn't as widespread as it is today.
correct. So
Now you
some
can get,
days,
like,
some
a
days it's like,
peppermint
you know what?
Mocha or whatever.
I'm not gonna math today. Just not gonna happen. So I'm gonna get a bunch of lessons on this other book done. Grammar or whatever.
Yeah.
I had like 3 of those books. So, but I had the flexibility to do what I wanted. And then on certain subjects, I was like 1 or even 2 grades ahead, which was good because why sit here and do like,
Stuff you don't need to learn again.
well, it's just stuff that's not challenging and it's boring.
Yeah.
And then you're not learning.
Yeah.
Right? So in all of the English topics or English related books, I was, 2 grades ahead a lot of times.
Yeah.
Math was in my actual grade. But,
Math is not good. I don't like math.
dude, I pay people to do math. Like, that's what CPAs are for. Just take this, please.
Like, who's going to use the quadratic equation right now?
Listen, anything I'm involved with that needs a quadratic equation, somebody else is going to be doing it for me. Like, here's money, do it, right?
Yeah.
That's their version. That's the
good to
fancy
learn it,
version
though.
of
It's
digging
good to
up
learn it,
bricks.
though.
Here,
Yeah.
quadratic equation, money.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, yeah, that was what that was like. And it was really cool because I learned how to teach myself. I learned how to learn, which has paid off really well.
Yeah, that's important for life.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's fairly important. Or a good tool to have.
Yeah, when you're crammed into a classroom, you don't really want to be there.
No.
And you got Charlie Brown's teacher teaching you, I don't know, whatever, quadratic equations.
Exactly. I relate.
No wonder people hate school.
Well, I mean,
And then they get out and never read a book again.
yeah. Well, I listened to a Jordan Peterson podcast, and the American school system is actually based off of a Prussian model that's only used for soldiers, so that they can have more people for the military.
Uh-huh.
That's what we use here.
Yeah, well, it was... Yeah, you're exactly right. That's where it came from. And a school is modeled on a factory.
Yeah,
Because you got the bell.
Yeah.
You come and go according to the bell. You file in, you file out. You do what you're told. You learn this. You learn enough to be useful, but you don't learn enough to be a problem. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't learn how to be independent.
Right.
You don't
exactly.
learn. Yeah.
You learn how to do a thing, but you don't learn how to learn.
Yeah.
Because if you learn how to learn, then you become, I don't know, hard to manage, let's say.
Yeah, and I do think there's something to be said where, as a student, you do have to respect your teachers, and you do have to, like, even if you're, like, in a classical school. But
of course,
I do think that the schooling today is very, like, basic.
I think that the basic Prussian model of education,
it's probably not what we
I think it's
use
obsolete.
in America.
It's obsolete, man.
Yeah.
Like, it was fine at the beginning of the industrial age. Well, the industrial age is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just not helpful anymore.
No. And, I mean, the most you're going to learn is from life experiences, from what I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I mean, something you can't really take away. But I just feel like, I mean, all of America is so basic. Like, if you look at the architecture today compared to, like, hundreds of years ago, it's like, it's like we've gotten worse.
Have you been to Italy?
No.
Okay, well, you will.
Outside of Europe.
Yeah,
outside of America.
When you go,
yeah.
because it's wet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is unbelievable.
There's so many pretty buildings.
So,
especially, oh my goodness, it's just awesome.
Do all of them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So just as an example, when you go to the northwest part of town where the Vatican City is located, there's at least like 3 bridges across the Tiber River, and on there they've got statues that were carved by Bernini. Well, not by Bernini, but I think it was by his like apprentices. This is better sculpture than you'll find anywhere in America. Mm-hmm. And they're decorations for a street on a bridge.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's not even the buildings.
Yeah.
Then you go inside the buildings,
yeah,
and it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, there are a couple. There's like pretty cities in America for sure, but
where?
Palm Beach is pretty.
Okay, it's pretty because it's the beach.
No, the architecture.
Oh, like the architecture.
The architecture there is actually beautiful.
Okay.
I
haven't been yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty areas in America, but it's just for the most part, it's just like straight edges, nothing much going on, and
brutalist architecture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
it's just
who
square blocks.
Exactly.
Looks like giant Legos.
Yeah, and I do not like Legos anymore.
Well, Legos are great for what they are.
Yeah.
When you're 6, 7, whatever. But
yeah, we're not 6 or 7 anymore.
Yeah. So
I saw it on Instagram the other day. It was like a comparison of like what it was like a couple hundred years ago to compare it to what it's like now, and it's just crazy. Like even the street lamps are like beautiful. Like it's like if you were to look at that on a church, you'd be like, oh my goodness. But that used to be like a street lamp. Like it's insane. Okay, back to
yes. So that was my sort of education background, and then since then it's just been an awful lot of work experience, business experience, and I've always chosen jobs or business opportunities for the experience first and the money second. And it gets to a point where you just you can't be 50 and still like, oh, here's an entry level job because there's some skill it's like,
yeah.
But you get to the point where you've got enough skills and it's like, hey, that worked because I know how to do things.
That's probably what you were building up when you were like 6 or 7 doing all those jobs. Those might not be the greatest skills in the world, but like it's still a skill to like know, and you have an experience with that, and it's still important.
Yeah, because you're learning this principle is that everything you do is sales, right? So even if you're not necessarily trying to convince somebody to buy a rosary, maybe you're doing a negotiation with a vendor for supplies,
Yeah.
right? You're trying to sell them on, why they should see
Give you a
things
low
your way,
discount. Yeah.
right? Or if you're an engineer, right,
Mm-hmm.
let's face it, engineers have this stereotype of being not the most personable and like not having the most connectivity between people. If you get
A
what I
little
mean.
like bland.
Yeah. Even if you're an engineer, you still got to know how to sell.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're trying to build a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're not build a bridge, you're trying to design a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to do it this way and somebody else on the team wants to do it that way. You got to sell your idea to the other guy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So what I learned was basically how to fulfill a need or a want that somebody had. Right? So it was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, need the yard mowed. Okay,
Same
cool.
with your school,
Figure out
too.
how to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, because my mom wanted me to do X number of pages per book per day, and I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you have to figure it
I
out
get
yourself.
paid for it, but it's the same principle.
Yeah.
Right?
And eventually you do get paid for it, just in a different way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And whether it's digging bricks out of the ground or doing
Mm-hmm.
school, you figure out that there's certain things you're good at and certain things you're less good at.
Yeah.
You don't want me as a math tutor, okay? Like, now I can help you write a hell of an English paper, sure. But you don't want me helping you with math,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, okay, do the math well enough to get by, learn what I need to learn,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that I'm never going to be, whatever,
Yeah.
Einstein with
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah, which some people don't want to be Einstein.
Right, and some people are good at digging up bricks, some are not. You just got to understand
Yeah.
what you're good at, and then you chase after that.
So, education, we talked about your work mentality.
Mhm.
How about what was your parish like?
So the parish that I grew up at, it was kind of interesting. So it was a pastoral provision parish. So the liturgy that they used there was called, it was the pastoral provision liturgy. It looked, you could describe it one of two ways. One way would be it looked a lot like the old Latin Mass, but in like high, I want to say like Elizabethan English.
Mm.
Or you could describe it as having a lot of similarities to a high church Anglican liturgy.
Mm.
Fully Catholic, fully in communion with Rome, totally valid, no weirdness there at all whatsoever. But that's what I grew up with, and it was super cool because it was all ad orientem. The altar was
To the east.
exactly. The altar was not freestanding; it was against the wall. Forgetting the liturgical name, up against the wall, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
We know what you mean.
Yeah.
Imagine not
And-
remembering that name.
Yeah.
How embarrassing.
Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do? That was it was a little parish. I mean, dude, it held like whatever, Christmas Eve Mass, standing room only. It held about 110 people.
Oh, well,
The reason I know that is because as a server, I had to count the number of people.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was interesting. We had to count the number of people, and then we'd take the ciborium, and it was cool because it wasn't like a ciborium that was shaped like a chalice. It was a ciborium. It was like this.
Like a coffee cup.
Well, except it was round.
Okay.
It was
okay.
like hemispherical on the bottom,
Mm.
and it had a lid on it, of course. So you took that, and you took this other little, it was like a little silver bread box, and you'd hand them both to Father, and you'd tell him, we have 110, or we have 65, whatever. He would more or less count the host out right there. It actually works really efficiently because in the pastoral provision and out of the ordinariate, Holy Communion is given in both species via intinction. So what the priest does, we're going to pretend this is the chalice, right? And this is the thumb ciborium. He holds it, quite this awkward. He holds both of them like this. Host, precious blood. It does it all with one hand. Like it's super slick.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that was about. That was a parish I grew up at. And it's now the cathedral of the ordinariate. at the Chair of St. Peter.
Is that the Swedish one, or was there a different Swedish one?
Swedish one?
Well, didn't you go?
Okay, it was Polish.
Polish.
But that was earlier on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was before Our Lady of Walsingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I got exposed to the reverence in liturgy pretty young, and it grabbed hold of me and never let go.
But you're not a priest.
Correct.
So you just...
That was never my vocation.
You like it, and you're attracted to it in a different way.
Well, I mean, just like, so many Catholics are, even if they can't articulate why they're drawn to it, it's usually something like, it just feels holier. It just feels like there's more going on. There isn't actually more going on because the Mass is the Mass and the sacraments are the sacraments.
Well, I mean, but there is like God coming down from heaven in the middle of Mass.
Right. And whether it's
so difficult to explain that effect.
Right. Whether it's the Novus Ordo or it's the Latin Mass Missal of 62 or the Ordinariate form of the Roman Rite, it's all the same thing happening. It's just that when you have more, external manifestations of it that we perceive through our senses of the supernatural reality that's occurring
like
at every Mass.
Candles and stuff like that.
Well, just,
beautiful, like...
And that's why people... Yeah, the music matters.
That's what we've kind of lost, I feel like, in America a little bit.
Yeah, we have. It's coming back, though.
The Catholic Church is coming back.
No, what I mean is like reverence and liturgy is coming back. And proper liturgical music is coming back. Not as quickly as maybe I or a lot of people would like, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, we have to... Everything comes...
But the point being is when you have all of those elements there, it helps us as human beings to better perceive the supernatural sacramental reality that goes on at every Mass. And it's the same at a Novus Ordo Mass versus Latin Mass Missal of 62.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now some people are going to be like, oh, they took prayers out. Yeah, they did. I wish they'd put them back.
In the Novus Ordo?
Yeah. But guess what? It's still a Mass. It's still transubstantiation.
Yeah,
it's
not better
it's
or
still
worse.
there. It's still there. Yes, it needs to be cleaned up. Agree 100%.
Yeah. A lot of it.
The point being, it's all there. So, but when you have more external manifestations of it, it draws people in, even if they don't know why.
Yeah.
They know why. They know why, like in their heart, like in here, and then eventually they learn how to articulate it in their mind.
Yeah.
But that's super important. And experiencing that from 8 years old, or 8 or 9 years old, that was it left an indelible mark on me.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I'm really thankful for it.
Like today, I mean, the Latin Mass is beautiful, of course, but I'm not drawn to the Latin Mass. I'm drawn to the Novus Ordo.
Well, and that's that's really a lot of the reason why the Council of Vatican II was convened in the first place.
Yeah.
Was because it was this kind of weird disconnect that was going on, and they wanted more lay participation in the Mass. Well, what that meant was participation in here, internal participation, interior participation, right? Susan from the parish council distributing Holy Communion is not exactly what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, the implementation was not good.
The implementation was not great. But yeah,
But now, I feel like today, the Novus Ordo makes you feel like you are a part of the church, because it's not like the clergy is just the church. Like, the laity is the church.
Of course.
And I think that what can happen in Latin Mass is that the clergy can almost be like that's the church, and we're just sitting in the pews looking at the church.
I think that depends upon the execution. There's no hard and fast reason why it needs to be that way.
Yeah. And I'm no expert in this, but just from my observations, going to a Latin Mass and going to a Novus Ordo, I feel more like I'm closer with God in the Novus Ordo than the Latin Mass, just because that's probably what I grew up in, so that's what I know. But also because it feels like I'm a part of the church, and if that makes sense.
Sure.
And that's just my opinion.
Temperament has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. It's not even that it's different kinds of people that in general tend to attend the Latin Mass versus the Novus Ordo. It's more like it's different temperaments.
It's just different mass.
No, it's the same rite. It's the same. It's
celebrated in a different way, though.
It's just it's a different version of the missal. It's
Yeah.
the same rite, though.
Yeah.
But my point is because the characteristics of it, like the external characteristics, are a bit different, it attracts different people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Different temperaments.
Yeah, and I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, but...
Oh, we can talk about it until Christ comes again and still not have talked about all of it and be exhausted.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But the last thing I would want to say on that is, like, and I'm totally agreeing with you, but, I mean, the last point I would like to make is that, like, with the Novus Ordo, like, the way it's supposed to be celebrated is it's supposed to have all these beautiful external influences on the mind.
Oh,
but
Sacrosanctum Concilium says that. It says that Latin is supposed to remain the default.
Mm.
So, it's like, if we had done what the Vatican, or the Second Vatican Council documents actually say, well, there you go.
And I'm not.
It's not actually that hard.
I'm no expert in this.
It's not actually that hard. Well, I'm not either. It's just not actually that hard.
Yeah,
is the point.
Yeah. So, your mass was very reverent. Your mass was very externally pleasing.
Yeah.
High school now. What was your high school years like?
What
were your high school years like?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically the same. Although I started working when I was 15. That's when doing the work in those not great apartment complexes. Yeah.
Sounded fun.
Yeah, so I did various different construction work until I went to college. Yeah. It was basically work that I was like, I want to not be doing this kind of work
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that work; it was that entire industry. I'm like,
It doesn't call you.
It's like you can make money doing any number of different things in different industries.
Not just not.
I'm like, I don't have to do it doing that, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
So
then I went to community college, and admittedly, it was because I didn't know what else to do, which is a really silly reason to do anything. I'm going to do this thing because I don't know what else to do. It's like, that's kind of not great. But I figured that out and ended up actually just putting that aside. Now, in hindsight, with, a decade and a half of hindsight, I can totally see the argument as to why I should have completed that and then done some kind of relatively generic but applicable bachelor's degree. Like there would have been benefit to doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't. Can't go back, can't redo it. Kind of doesn't matter in that sense. But yeah, so I put that aside and went to gunsmithing school. Now in hindsight,
you're a gunsmith.
Well, yes, but actually no.
You're a businessman gunsmith.
Kind of. So the ROI, and you know what ROI is, return on investment.
Okay.
For that degree was, not great. Because I didn't exactly do my homework before diving into it. Because I didn't, what you want to understand before you get into a business or in industries, you want to know how the money works. Like, how does it flow and what dictates it? I didn't understand that about the whole gunsmithing realm.
Okay.
Now, I learned it later. And in 2017, I kind of, honestly, by accident, got into sales. Which was really, 2017 was a career change for me. I didn't know it because I took that job as a gunsmith. But then the career change happened during that job, which is really funny. It was really interesting. I got into sales and realized, I sold a guy this gun, this expensive shotgun, and I made about 7 or 8 hours worth of gunsmithing billable time in, let's call it an hour, selling the gun to the guy.
Yeah.
And doing the paperwork and the background check and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it 2 hours.
Yeah.
I still, in 2 hours, made the same amount of money for the company that I would have made in 8 hours working on guns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There it was.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned, oh, okay. I thought that the sales supported the gunsmithing.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually the other way around. The gunsmithing supported the sales.
Yeah.
So that was a very valuable lesson that I learned. And I've been in sales ever since.
Mm-hmm. Do you like sales?
Yeah, it's more fun. Not just because I get to make more money, but because I realized that standing at a bench every day
Is not what you
and
want to
working. Well, yeah, and the thing is, I can't train somebody to do that. Like, it's so skill intensive, and it really doesn't pay very much.
do.
Whereas I can teach people to sell,
Yeah.
right? So, like tomorrow, I could just take the day off, and my 2 guys that I taught how to sell will be there selling. Still making money, product is coming in and going out,
Mm-hmm.
customers are being satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
whether I'm there or not.
Yeah.
Now, I can't just not be there every day, but I can just, theoretically not be there on any given day, and it's still fine because I've trained other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just made a lot more sense.
Mm.
Because, like I said, I was going nuts at the gunsmith bench every day, not talking to people.
You're more extroverted in that sense.
I'm more extroverted than I realized that I was.
Mm.
Like, I legitimately thought I was an introvert.
But you weren't.
Which is the most ridiculous thing ever if you actually know me. Like, I've had people...
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not. I thought I was.
He's not, guys. He's not.
Yeah, I'm really... I'm really not. And... No, I'm not, like, super extroverted, but I'm definitely on the extroverted side of the middle of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I'm on the spectrum. So... Yeah, I just realized, like, okay, this just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like anywhere else in life, you realize that what you realize that your presuppositions
Mm-hmm.
are not exactly correct. So you discard them and you adopt new data. You embrace the new data that you got. And you make adjustments from there. Because I thought I was going to be a gunsmith the rest of my life, building really cool guns, which I like doing.
But not for 8 hours a day.
Only 8? That was my part-time job. No, no, but seriously, I mean, it's a lot more than 8 hours a day. Because you can only make as much money as the number of guns you can fix.
Yeah, which guns take a while to fix.
Well, they can, yeah, and you can only make so much. You can't scale it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I say all that to say that I made the jump into sales because it just made a lot more sense.
Mm.
And then from there, I went to work for the manufacturer of the gun, the brand that I sold the most of. And that was learning business-to-business sales because I had dealers. I was a dealer rep. So I learned B2C, so business to consumer. And then I learned B2B, business to business, which has served me really well. Because they're similar, but they're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're different.
Yeah.
So
what did that teach you? Like both the sales side of it, but also like the having to sit there and make guns and fix the gun part of it.
Well, I realized that that's kind of a hobby. Like, fundamentally, it's a hobby by its nature. So when you put things in their proper place, you get to enjoy not just enjoy, but everything just works better.
Yeah.
Right?
Both
so,
and.
Gunsmithing being in the number 1 slot doesn't make sense because it's a number 2 item. Right? So you have number 1, you have number 2. If you put number 1 first and number 2 second, you can have both. But if you put 2 first and 1 second, you typically don't get to have either one of them.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
Okay. So that's 2017, right?
Yeah, that was 2017.
That's up to 2017.
That was up to 2017, yeah. So since 2017, I've been basically in sales, and then the place where I'm at now, I came in doing the entire gun department.
Yeah.
and we've hired more people because I've grown it a bunch.
Yeah, you've grown it like
better websites, selling more guns, which means make more money, which means you can buy more inventory, which means you can sell more inventory.
Yeah.
On the better website, right? Mm-hmm. So it's this positive.
I know what that is.
Spiral. Yeah, you know what that is.
Yeah, I just got my website redone.
You did, yes. Mm-hmm. It looks baller, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, looks very good. So then you get more profit in, you can invest more in the company, and it kind of does this. It's your upside down pyramid, right? So, yes, now I'm the general manager of the place.
Awesome.
Which
I know that.
I still do sales, but it's fundamentally like business management is a different. Yeah, it's overlapping, but business management encompasses sales, but it's also a lot more stuff.
Do you like the management side of it more than the sales side?
Yes, I do, because
let me just rephrase the question. Do you like the business owner side of it than I'm the salesman working for the business owner?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do, because I've got more autonomy that way.
Okay.
Now, I fully understand I may not always be in that role, and that's fine, because at the end of the day, we make money as a means to an end.
Yeah, money is not the end.
Money is not the end. If the money is the end,
then you need to rework something in your life.
You need to go home and rethink your life. Whatever movie that's from. You need to go home and rethink your life because you got it backwards. You got the number 2.
Let's just not get copyrighted.
It's fine. Then you have the number 2 thing in the number 1 slot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if I end up in the future or whatever it may be, and I'm, working for some big company or something.
Yeah.
But I'm making the money that I need to make in order to support a family and everything else.
That's what.
Hey, great! That's the entire point. Yeah, the entire point. Then later on, if I can spin something off into my own thing or whatever, who cares? Awesome. But the Lord provides us His problem to figure out. He'll show me.
Yeah. That's a good way of thinking of it.
Yeah, dude. I can't control everything.
Nobody can.
I think anxiety comes from trying to control things that you cannot.
I like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, do you want to pause here, get coffee, and then pick up with the really exciting stuff?
I was going to say no, but you said coffee, so yes.
So yes. Okay.
Coffee, ergo, break.
We'll be right back. I don't know what that means.
Michael Scott said it.
Oh.
Of course you know what it means.
No, if Michael Scott says that means you don't know what it means.
No, you don't know. He says he's pervious. You're pervious to caffeine. I'm impervious to caffeine.
I like it in The Office when Michael Scott was adding sugar to a Diet Coke.
That was awesome, and it was so subtle.
Yeah,
he's talking, doing his thing, blah, blah, blah. He just does it, and you either notice it or you don't. Such a great show.
I didn't notice it until somebody pointed it out in like a meme or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was an
funny.
Easter egg the producers put in, or maybe he just did it and they're like.
Or the other Easter egg is when Creed, when the ink,
Creed is an Easter egg.
Yeah, the printer ran out of ink and Creed dyed his hair in that same episode.
Oh, did he? That's when it was like jet black.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, The Office is great.
Nice. Anyway, where were we before we got coffee?
We just finished. We were up to 2017 for you, and now we're going to move into a different topic on business, I believe.
No, we were. Yeah, so let's talk about your business.
Yeah, let's talk about the beginning of Rings of the Lord.
Yeah, we'll get. Yeah, so basically, you, as I recall.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait, how did you find the Irish Pinot Roastery, and like how did you?
Start making it? Okay. I don't know. Wait a minute. Wait. God, we can go way back here, dude.
Like Saint Dominic come down from heaven?
No. I don't remember where I got who introduced me to the Irish Pinot Roastery or when. Somebody did. Well, dude, it was invented by the Irish. I mean, that's why it's called.
That's a stretch. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget who, but basically it was like, okay, I understand that it's a ring that goes over each finger for the decade, and I knew the purpose of it. And I was like, okay, I love the form factor. I can carry it in my pocket, it won't get broken, right? But nobody makes one that I want to buy.
That's worth the money.
They're all made like, or not all, but most of them were constructed in the same manner as most rosaries with a little chain dealie.
Ugh, I hate that.
It's fine. It's fine if you're an old lady and you carry around this giant purse, and then you have this little pouch thing that the rosary sits in, and then the pouch sits inside a zippered compartment, like inside this giant thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that, right? It's like, no. I need something I can throw in my pocket and not break. So I was like,
so you made it yourself and you did the most Steven thing
yeah,
ever.
Yeah. So I was like, all right.
Only compliments.
I'm going to make it out of paracord. Because obviously.
Yeah.
I've been, that was the other thing, dude. I was a teenager. I was making,
Wait, you did that in teenager?
Yeah, dude. Back in early 2000s, everybody was wearing paracord bracelets. Like, it was just like the cool thing.
That was still around when I was little too.
Yeah, but it was like super popular then.
Yeah.
So I was making those things. So I had a lot of paracord. I've always had paracord lying around ever since then. And I say mid 2000s. It was like 2007 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so even back then, you could buy them. But I was like, that's just so basic. I don't want something basic. So I made something super cool that you couldn't buy. Well, it was kind of the same thing with the IPR. It took me a year of just ordering beads off of like Amazon and Etsy and whatever, going off of these kind of dodgy dimensions that they provided. Oh, the hole is nominally 5 millimeters and the diameter, and the picture would be off. And what's funny is these beads I ordered not actually understanding what the dimensions were. Because
from the supplier?
Yeah, from I don't even know where. It may have been, well, it was somewhere on Etsy. It was either Etsy or Amazon. And I was getting beads that would fit. I intended to get beads that would fit over one strand of paracord. Well, these things arrive and they're huge. And I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. Okay, that's not helpful. So I threw it in the box. And I ordered some other ones, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's not really getting there. So one day, I'm just kind of at this, like, you get writer's block? Like the creative juices kind of just sort of stop, and you're like, eh. So I kind of was like, it was in this kind of like don't care mode.
Don't know what to do.
Don't know what to do, don't care mode. So just try things with zero expectation of anything coming from it. So I take these beads. I have grab a piece of paracord, and I'm like, well, okay. The hole is big enough for 2 strands. Okay. Okay, so I looped the piece of cord through the ring. And then I put the beads over both strands. And I'm like, oh. So I have this much of it, right? Just a few, like 6 or 8 beads. I'm like, well, that form factor kind of makes sense because the beads relative to the diameter, the thickness of the ring works.
And then it kind of all just came together.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay. So I tied a knot at the bottom with and I had these crucifixes already. I had the IPR crucifix.
Yeah, off of it.
I got that off of Etsy, which cost like $25 at the time or something. 20.
Oh, it was 23, a lot.
$25
It was a lot.
So I tie the one knot, and I'm like, there it is. Mm-hmm. There it is. That's it. That's what I've been looking for. I didn't know what it looked like.
So how would you present it to me? Because I kind of remember being in the sacristy and you showed me the sacristy rosary, and then because we were just about to go serve a mass.
Yeah.
And then you came over like the next day, I think.
I think I showed you in the sacristy, and I knew you were going to be there because I wrote the altar serving schedule. I was in charge of all of that, so I knew you were going to be at that mass. Mm-hmm. So I brought it with me, and I was like, dude. Yo,
look how cool this is.
This is super cool. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what's that? And I tell you what it is. And you're like, as I recall, you kind of looked at it, you weren't really sure, but then you came around to it.
There's just something about it that stuck to me.
Well, the form factor just makes sense. It just works.
That looks really good on the...
I'm in marketing. I know what I'm doing. It's okay. So, yeah, that's how that came about. It was just...
That's how I was first
dude,
introduced
I spent
to
like
it.
a year.
Yeah.
Because the IPR bug hit me, and I'm like, okay, I love this. I got to figure out how to make it in a way, like construct it in a way that makes sense. So I had like small beads, and there was a knot up. There was the ring, and then a knot below that.
And I am very grateful that you went through all that prototyping, because I would not have gotten that far.
Yeah, and then 10 beads, and then another knot, and then the crucifix. But the knot is like the same size as if you had 2 pieces of string going through it, because you do.
Mm-hmm.
But then it tapered down to this one skinny strand. Like, the whole thing was just like, it's kind of disjointed. I don't like it. And it's too long for what it is.
Yeah.
So what's funny is, even though the beads on this one are like twice the size, the overall length is actually shorter.
It looks good. So
it just worked.
I think it was the next day that you brought a rosary over for a Christmas present, right?
Yeah, I think it was like the following week. Your mom wanted it for your dad, and it was identical to the one I'm holding in my hand. Mm-hmm. And for all the people listening on audio only, this is the brass and olive drab green model.
Yeah, bronze and army green on my website.
Thank you, bronze and army green. Mm-hmm. I made. I think that's
my favorite one. So.
Well, it's mine too. It's the original. It's not my favorite because it's the original. It's my favorite because it's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's
good.
It just works. It just works.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one that I brought over. Showed it to your mom. Showed it to you. You looked at it again. I think you'd had a week kind of for the concept to seep into your brain at this point. And that's when your eyes lit up and you're like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And then it was, oh, you should start a business doing it. I don't have time. Oh, I'll do it. And then here we are, right? And then Rings of the Lord and the rest is history.
So we've never talked about this, and I think it's really interesting. This will be really interesting. Let's talk about it from your perspective. So they always, in a couple of interviews that I've been so blessed to have, it's always been from my perspective, like what it's like for me to grow the business. What was it like for you to have to help me along that, not have to, but help me along that path to getting the business going? What was it like for the past 3 years? What has it been like for you?
So I'll start with the reason why I did it. I've learned in my adult life, I've learned to recognize when somebody is really good at a thing. It served me really well. We're getting to that point. Don't thank yourself too hard just yet. You don't want to pull a muscle. And so,
no pride here whatsoever.
You won the Humility Award last year, right?
I did.
Was it like 2 or 3 years in a row?
I had to humbly accept it. Yes, I'm just awesome with that.
Yeah, it was like 3 years in a row. It was like nobody had ever done that before. So
first ever.
Yeah. So, you expressed interest in it, and you were extremely competent as an altar server. Like, I never had to motivate you to do the job. I never had to harp on you for minding details and stuff like that. You had to have a very developed sense of doing things in a correct way and doing things in a complete way.
Yeah, I don't like a job unfinished.
Right. Or just done kind of halfway. So I saw that, and when you said to me, "Oh, well, I'll do it," what I was trying to do, and I think I've never actually told you this before, what I was trying to do was to show you right up front the hoops you got to jump through. Like, you got to have a website. You got to take good photos of all the stuff. You have to keep an email list of all your clients with all their contact info.
Yeah.
Because if you depend upon, Facebook, Instagram, intermediary platforms through which to contact your clientele, you are one mouse click away, from somebody at, Meta or whatever, from being no longer able to contact your clientele.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. You got to have all that directly. Not so that he can spam your inbox. Don't worry, he's not going to do that.
I think I only send like one email a month.
Yeah, exactly. Just enough that they're like, oh yeah, oh that Will dude is really cool. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I try not to spam.
Anybody that sends me an email every day, I unsubscribe. Always.
I hate it.
I don't care how much I like what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Every day is too much.
Yep, too much.
I also hate email in general, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's not true. I'm just my annoyance threshold in email is relatively low.
Yeah.
So the point being is, I recognize that you had the capacity and the willingness to learn how business works.
Mm-hmm.
I was never really taught business until much later in life. I mean, later in a relative sense. I'm not actually that old, but you get what I'm saying. So I was like, man, okay, I've had some really good business mentors. I don't even remotely know everything. I mean, I never will, right? But I was smart enough to realize, okay, I'm not actually that far down the road, but Will isn't on the road yet. I can help him on the road. And I know enough to teach him enough to be helpful. That was my thought process.
Yeah.
That's why I did it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And, you learn the thing further by teaching the thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's real.
I mean, I can't necessarily relate to that, but I do understand.
No, it's absolutely real. It is absolutely real. So, yeah, that was really the reason why I did it. Was because I knew you were capable.
Yeah.
And it was funny because in the beginning there were, getting any business off the ground, you just have different dynamics that you got to deal with. It might be suppliers or different people involved, or there's input on you should go in this direction or that direction. You had to sort through all that.
Yeah.
And I gave you sort of my thoughts as far as what I would do in that situation. But I made it a point to, rather than tell you, hey, you should do this, more like ask you relevant questions. I didn't do that all the time, but I made it a point to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Will, okay, this is the question I would be asking in this situation. And let you figure the answer out. And you'd come back to me and you're like, hey, so I was thinking about that, and, I got this input from over here saying I should do this, and this input over here saying that, but I just really think I need to go this way. And most of the time, what was my answer?
Do it.
Do it, dude.
Yeah.
Your instinct is correct. How many times did that happen?
Probably a lot.
Like all the time.
Especially getting it going.
Yeah, the first year, that happened all the time.
It was tough to get it going. Especially with having school also.
Yeah, you were 12 when you started it.
Yeah, 13 I think.
No, you're 12. Okay. I remember you were 12. You weren't even a teenager when you started it.
Yeah. A lot of the tough part was finding the supplies and getting all that stuff, which you helped me with most of that.
Yeah. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and then, so that was like the first year. So a lot of it was just, you couldn't really do much because it was like just, let's get the supplies, let's get it actually going.
Right, get a website. It was a lot of word of mouth, like local sales.
Yeah. What about like the past, so it's been 3 years, 4 years almost? Oh, it's almost been 4 years. No, 3 years.
Yeah, three.
Okay, so the second year, so last year. What was it like in between like then and now? Like what was it like to see your business in a way to grow as well?
Oh, yeah. So this business that's yours, but in this like
weird sense that it's also yours too.
I hate doing things vicariously because I think it's nonsense. But in this sort of specific way that I kept on a short leash, it was kind of it was a vicarious thing for, 13, 14-year-old me, really is what it was. But I knew that you were in that stage where it was kind of a plateau in a sense.
Yeah,
because you got more sales, but it was kind of like
last year.
It was just kind of doing this. It was kind of like kind of bumping your head against this like glass ceiling kind of thing, as far as the sales were going.
Yeah, they were not that.
But I knew that it was like, well, that's totally normal. This is how stuff
business
works. Yeah, and I knew that there would be eventually some catalyst for growth beyond that. And then so this was, what was it, not even 6 months ago when you emailed, who did you email?
The Pillar.
It was the Pillar. Pillar was
Yeah.
the first one?
It was like 2 months ago.
Was that 2 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, lots happened in 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the deal? You just emailed the Pillar out of nowhere,
I
right?
emailed the owner of the Pillar.
Yeah.
And he forwarded the email to the author that wrote the article. Yeah.
Oh, to one of his writers, and then the writer interviewed you.
Exactly.
And it was a written article?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and the Pillar is, it's a significant thing.
Yeah,
it's not like
big enough.
It's big enough, right? It's not just some like one random guy.
Yeah, because I've had other interviews and I've gone on other platforms, but it never really did much. And the platforms were just not
it did
big
some.
enough. It did some.
Sure.
But it got my word out. It got
Sure.
my rosary in people's hands, which is important. But it never gave me the audience in a sense that I needed. Because at the
But the
beginning,
Pillar article did.
It did.
It gave you a lot.
Yeah, it's opened a lot of doors. Thanks be to God.
Yeah, thank you, Pillar. Thank you, dude at Pillar.
Yeah. So what has it been like? So
I'm sorry to answer that question.
Let's go back to the plateau area. What was
Yeah.
it like watching it go through the plateau area? Because I'm assuming you were kind of like, let's just let him figure out what he needs to do to grow this business.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like, oh, I'll just let him figure it out because there's like one thing he's not seeing that's keeping him back. It wasn't that. It was just sort of the natural growth curve of a business more often than not.
Yeah.
And it was just totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that as long as you kept at it, kept doing what you do.
Yeah.
Now I didn't anticipate you, or I didn't think about, I guess, reaching out to a non-trivial, Catholic media outlet. But hey, what can they do?
It was bold.
What could they do but tell you no? They said yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you just do it, and hey, there you go.
Yeah. So what about the past 2 months for you? What have those been like?
That's been really cool to see. That has been super cool to see because...
No, I'm not trying to paint this in like a picture of referring back to myself. I'm genuinely asking.
No. Well, my experience was... Yeah. No, dude, it was so gratifying, so edifying to see that you had sunk... I'm not going to say what the number is, but I know you sunk a significant sum of money into this thing at 12 years old. Money that you saved up from like birthdays and Christmases.
I basically used all the money I had.
Yeah, which was
still haven't. Yeah,
more than a few $100. Can we say that? Can that fair way to describe it?
I can say how much I spent.
If you want to, go ahead.
It cost $2,000 to start it.
Yeah, that was at 12 years old.
Yeah,
that was right up front, and you put more in since then. But yeah, just seeing in these last couple months this huge sales spike.
Yeah.
Is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool for me because...
And it's also so cool. One thing I have to say, just because I want to say it before we get to like the other part of it, but the one thing I thought is really cool is I love reading like the comments. It's just
They're
so
the best,
cool.
Aren't they?
Yeah, it's awesome. I love, and I have on my website like the different quotes and everything.
Like testimonials.
Testimonials that people have said. But I just love how I can like look back and like read like all of them. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really cool because I think in general, the kind of people that are going to spend... What do you charge for these again right now? $37.
Yeah.
$37 is a non-trivial amount of money for not even a full... fundamentally not even a full rosary, right? It's a 1-decade rosary for $37. Mm-hmm. That's not...
It's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, but what you're getting is premium materials.
Yeah. You have a lifetime warranty, which is nice.
And it has a lifetime warranty. Like, if you somehow break it, you send it back to Will.
Yeah.
And he will give you a new one.
Yeah, I think like...
Or he'll repair it, give you a new one, make it right.
The thing that I think is so great about Rings of Lord, and I'm not trying to say this to like glorify myself, but I think what I like so much about it is that what I'm trying to do right now is build the community aspect around it.
Right.
And I think that just from the beginning, it's been like that. Like with you helping me with the testimonials I've received, with all the people that have supported my business, it's just been completely based on like community aspect of it. And now I love that part of it.
Exactly.
It's, I don't want to model my business off of like the Steve Jobs tell the consumer what he wants. I want it to model of like, no, let me work with the consumer to get them the best thing that they can have.
I think it's both though, because how many times have you come across something cool that you said, wow, I never would have thought of that. I'm glad they made that and now I'm buying one. So it's a both and.
Yeah.
You got to listen to your client base.
Yeah, of course.
They'll tell you what they want.
Yeah.
They might not say, hey, dear Will Henry, I want XYZ.
Yeah, and the
More
business
often than not,
just
they
can't
do
function like that because nobody will get their rosary at that point.
Well, they the way the market does it is by buying a thing or not buying a thing.
Yeah.
And you pay attention that way.
Yeah.
So,
but I do think that it's cool because, yes, you get your rosary. Yes, you order a rosary, you get it, and you receive the rosary. But you're holding in your hand something kind of more than a rosary, at least from my perspective, because it's like you have this whole story behind it, which I just love.
Right.
Exactly. And everybody that helped me along that process, I just think is awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, and that kind of thing is super important when it comes to premium products.
Mm-hmm.
Just in a general consumer market standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Like when there's intangibles, and really what that boils down to is positive emotions associated with the physical thing.
Yeah.
Now they're not just buying the physical thing, they're buying the positive emotions with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not why you buy a rosary. You buy a rosary because
it's
it's a spiritual weapon.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a third dimension to that, right? But yeah, that's just super important. But yeah, dude, for me to see how many orders you and Walker are getting out.
Oh my goodness, nuts. I could not do it without Walker.
Dude, it's nuts. It's so cool to see that.
Yeah.
Like I went back there to your workshop right now, and there's like bits of string and stuff like all over the ground. Like y'all have been cranking product out to fill all these orders.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Did you ever think it would get to that point, or did you think that it would kind of just be there and present, but not like a big deal?
I didn't. This may sound weird in a way, but I didn't have specific expectations. I was doing it as a means of you learning how business works. And I figured as long as you learned these kinds of things, these lessons that you can only really learn by being in business, then it was mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
If Rings of the Lord took off into this thing and you're like selling so many that it costs you money to go to your job in town, all the better. Wow.
Yeah.
Then that's the cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have specific expectations, but I'm super happy that this thing is doing what it's doing. So it's incredible.
Yeah. So 2 more quick things before we end, which will be soon. But how about let's talk about what I want to talk about is business and like the importance of like having these like growing businesses and Catholic businesses in today.
Yes.
And then also to wrap it up, of course, to give maybe we'll say a prayer at the end, and then we can talk about our faith a little bit after we talk about business, and then we can wrap it up like that.
There we go.
So that's like the final bit of this podcast. Okay, business. What do you think? We kind of given the story of Rings of the Lord. We've gone through, of course, we've interviewed you. We've talked about me plenty. What do you think the future almost of business and like Catholic businesses should look like in a weird sense? Like, do you think Rings of the Lord is like is going to be a little bit more than that one day? Do you think that we need more businesses like more Catholic businesses out there? What's your perspective on that?
So
it's a little bit of a weird question, but
no. Well, I know where you're going with it. I think what matters is Catholics we got to stick together, and if at all possible, do business with each other.
Yeah.
Right. And what that will help it won't wholly precipitate, but it will greatly help.
Mm-hmm.
Having more Catholic businesses where you have Catholic culture within the business that provides like a bubble or like an oasis from this woke insanity that's going on in the world right now. And because at the end of the day, like, not always, but more often than not, if you work for, whatever, a Fortune 500 company, you don't really have freedom of speech. Like, you can't...
Or an identity. Like,
well,
of course you have an identity, but like you don't have as much of like a say in your job. It's so
forget that. Just like saying things, stating your opinion online, which, I mean, to be fair, that's of dubious value these days anyway. But in a functional sense, you don't really have freedom of speech because you fear losing your job because some Karen in HR somewhere comes across your social media post saying that the dude that thinks he's a chick who's swimming in college, whatever his name is, I totally forget, basically saying, you're a dude, you can't race against girls, that's ridiculous. And then HR sees that, and you like, now you're facing repercussions against your means of providing for your family because you said something online that was not hateful. Right? Like,
so that's the importance of having good Catholic businesses starting to grow up.
Well, and not just that. It's like, okay, so if you have a holy day of obligation, it's a lot harder to get the day off to go to Mass. Because, I mean, a lot of places, Mass is at like, 9 in the morning.
Yeah, like why would you put your Mass?
It's just, but it's just having the Catholic culture, not just at home, not just at your parish, but when you have it in the workplace as well, then basically what you've done is you sort of created, like, in the pond of the world, you have these lily pads of Catholic culture that you go between, for the most part, parish, home, work. Your 3 primary lily pads you hop between. Yeah. Then it's like, hey, you've kind of created a Catholic world within this woke insanity. Yeah. And that's pretty cool.
I do think that the thing that I like to see is that Catholic businesses, but they have websites that like look like good websites. Yeah. I think that that's starting to pop up more and more. And I was in contact with a girl in high school. She's a junior, and she also has a rosary business over in Charlotte. And she messaged me. So I think that it's almost contagious. It's like it's starting to become a thing. It's like not just me selling rosaries. There's also other 15-year-olds out there that are selling rosaries, and I think that
it's awesome.
It's good for the future.
It is
of this country.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
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 So now to wrap up, let's talk about our faith real quick. Yep. And then how about you close it? You close us in prayer, and then I'll ask you a quick question I want to ask you.
Well, let's do the questions and then close in prayer.
Questions? Okay.
Because we're going to close in prayer and then go to questions.
Exactly.
Not closing, are we?
Exactly. Okay, so here's my fun question. If you could have brunch with somebody in the Bible, who would it be?
I mean, other than Jesus, because obviously,
without the apostles, you can have the apostles without Jesus and Mary.
St. Peter.
St. Peter. Why?
I feel like I can relate to him a lot. He he seems to have been pretty extroverted. He got himself into situations without really thinking. Yep. Did some kind of like boneheaded stuff,
which everybody does,
which I can relate to, and I can just okay. St. Peter is a great example of how our Lord doesn't always call the most qualified. Because if you think about it, like in some ways, from our perspective, you kind of think that St. John would have made a better first pope than St. Peter.
Definitely.
Like,
But there's
dude
a reason Peter was Pope.
Right.
Yeah.
But like St. John was the one who seems to have been more squared away in general,
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah.
But
definitely.
our Lord, it's so interesting because he puts us into things where the thing in turn makes us qualified to be doing the thing.
Exactly.
Now, you have to, you have to have something to work with and to start.
Mm-hmm.
But it just puts me at ease in a lot of ways because I found myself in my life in a lot of situations where it's like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
It's called being a post turtle. You know what that means?
No.
You ever seen a turtle on top of a fence post?
No.
Yeah, well, it's like if you see a turtle on top of a fence post,
You're like,
it's
what the
like,
heck is it doing there?
who put it there?
Yeah.
He didn't get there himself.
Yeah.
He isn't really supposed to be there. How?
Yeah.
What is the point? What is going on?
Mm-hmm.
More than once in my life, I felt like a post turtle.
Mm.
And I think in some ways, you could see how St. Peter felt like a post turtle.
Mm-hmm.
Right when he denied our Lord
Yeah.
before the cock crowed?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, bro, like post turtle moment right there.
Yeah, exactly.
There it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, first pope, keys of the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
His tomb is beneath what I argue is the most beautiful church in all of Christendom ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. You got to go.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. However beautiful you think St. Peter's is in your head, it's better than that.
Wow.
Guaranteed.
So brunch.
So it'd be St. Peter, yes.
Brunch with St. Peter.
If you gave me an hour to think about it, I'd probably like meander my way into, but maybe this person. But like
St.
right
Peter.
now,
St. Peter.
like,
Period. In a story.
right now, yeah, St. Peter.
Okay.
How about you?
Me. I have to think about that.
How the turntables.
Exactly. Turntables. There's just so many people to choose from, especially in the Old Testament. Like, I would love to hear the stories of like Moses. I'd love to hear those
Ooh,
stories.
he'd be interesting.
Or Abraham. Like, that would be interesting too. If I had to pick one, probably be King David, honestly.
Okay.
King David.
Well, that's a good one.
And
Why?
now,
Tell me why.
if I were to think more about it, I'd probably change my mind. But just on the spot, probably King David. I think
Why?
that the way he became king is kind of interesting. The fact that he was like friends with Saul's son and Jonathan, yeah, and how he kind of befriended like his enemy's son. The fact that, I mean, he did mess up, which I don't have to tell the story of, but he just seemed like a human king, if that makes sense, but also a king whose heart was made out of God. Also, the symbolism in that was awesome. If you want to read more about that, I have an article on my website. It was called An Unexpected King, and if you read that part, you can see like the connection I drew between David and Jesus, and I just
Put a link in the show notes below.
exactly.
Yes.
So I think that was just awesome. So probably King David.
Very cool.
Did you know that? Just one quick cool fact.
Yeah.
Did you know that King David was reigning about the same time that the Trojan War was going on?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Never knew that.
It's so interesting.
Huh,
Achilles
very
is
cool.
over there like killing Trojans, and King David's over here.
Doing his thing.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How about you close in prayer because you're the guest?
Okay.
Now it could just be an Our Father if you wanted it to. It doesn't have to be something
Let's do it in Latin.
in Latin.
Yes.
Okay.
Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Pater noster qui es in caelis sanctificetur nomen tuum, et veniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.